knows who I am, so I don't really need to introduce myself because, well, Eloise and Mum have kickboxed with me, but for Rochelle, you know that I'm a kickboxing coach anyway, so I don't need to give you all the 2 times English kickboxing champion 2nd degree black belt, because you know it, and now we have confirmed it. But I've started this series with Brooke because it's an area that interests me greatly in how mindset affects our physical ability. Because personally, for me, I've struggled with my own mindset throughout my life, I guess. I just didn't know how to identify it. And even in the beginning of my kickboxing, I wasn't always successful. And that isn't because of a lack of physical dedication. It was through a lack of not having control of my own mindset. So Brooke has been coaching me with my own mindset throughout lockdown. And I'm very grateful for that, because we've identified a couple of barriers that I've had that I wasn't even aware. And if I hadn't addressed them now with her, I'd probably still be struggling with them. So, and then through that, we've had a couple of quite deep conversations. We've got to know each other really well. So we decided to do this webinar series together, because I think that it's going to go really well working. This is our first time, so only time can tell how well it actually goes, and your feedback will be most appreciated. Please let us know how you find it. And so we're going to do it monthly. We've called it the monthly Mindset Masterclass, and we're planning to do it on the last Monday of the month, because that's an easy date to remember. You've got your month scheduled in, last Monday of the month, prioritize your mindset. But there's no commitment. There's no commitment to sticking to a series. That's when we're planning on doing them. And they will all cover an aspect in their own right. So if you can do one, you'll get great benefit from one alone. If one stands out to you as an aspect that you want to cover, and you think that's an area of my mindset that I really want to work on, you can just do that one. Or if you want to do them all and receive all of the benefits, then you know that it's a regular monthly masterclass to attend. So we're starting with the comfort zone and stepping out of your comfort zone, to be precise, today, because it's something that we've both done. I can highlight that through fighting as an obvious one. There is no way to fight without stepping out of your comfort zone. Even the most confident fighters, when they step into the ring, that is definitely a step out of their comfort zone. No one can be so confident in their own ability that they know that they are going to win. They will be telling themselves that they're going to win. And this is where mastering your mindset really plays a vital part. But there will still be something in their head that they are having to overcome. So they are stepping out their comfort zone. And that's today, this is stepping out of my own comfort zone, because I've never done it before. I've never run a webinar. I've been practicing. So again, referring back to the fighting, you can practice the technique, you can practice the sparring even, but you can't practice fighting. And you can't practice webinars until you're actually in front of the screen speaking to an audience. So thank you all for being here and allowing me to practice with you all. So yeah, if you want to achieve anything, you're going to have to step outside your comfort zone, basically. And that's what we're going to cover today. So I'm going to start with my own story a little bit to highlight how I got here and where I've come from, and obviously tying in elements of things that I've struggled with and how I've overcome them. So I'm going to start with when I was a teenager. So I was quite academic at school, and I was told that I was going to get A stars in everything, and through studying and attending school and having an intelligence, that would have happened. But I struggled and I stopped going, I stopped attending. I had a lot of things going on in my life. And so it was an avoidance, really. I decided that it was easier to avoid things that I might fail at, because I had a lot of pressure in, you are academic. My maths teacher, I clearly remember her making me write at the beginning of year 10 in the front of my maths book, I will achieve an A star. And although I agree with positive affirmations, if you take someone who needs not necessarily an extra pressure, if you force them to be in the top set, be academic, be something that they're not necessarily going to cope with that pressure. I didn't like my maths teacher, by the way. I didn't like the fact she made me do that. And I didn't like the fact she also ordered the class in order of our test results. So those with the lowest test results had to sit at the front, Those with the highest test results had to sit at the back. So that I will achieve an A star wasn't a positive affirmation in my mind, and especially not at the time when I was 14 and struggling and should be succeeding but wasn't. So I avoided it. So that's where my teenage years went. And I remember being 15. I was quite fat and quite unfit when I was 15. I wasn't sporty. Like I said, I was academic, wasn't sporty, and I wasn't creative, couldn't dance, all of these things. So I avoided everything, which included starting kickboxing. Went on into my life, into adulthood, into working. I've always been hardworking because I knew I wanted to earn money. I got a job part-time. I went back to college. I did animal management for a bit, but then I dropped out. But again, I wanted more money. I wanted more freedom. I've always wanted freedom. That's always been a priority to me. I didn't want to be committed to studying and exams and everything. So I decided to drop out of college again, even though it was another failure in my mind, but actually it wasn't. I started working in a family-run pub, which brought me in an income and allowed me to eventually start kickboxing, I guess. There's nothing much interesting in the first part until at 19. So I started working at the pub at 18. Then at 19, I'd been with my boyfriend a couple of years and he started kickboxing. So I'm very grateful he had the courage to do so. I don't think he was nervous like I was. He just did it for fun. He was a natural. In my mind, he was very good naturally. He walked into the gym and he could throw a head kick. He's a big, strong, 6'4" man. He's the type of person that you would look at and think, yes, they can kickbox. I am not, but I can. I'm quite determined. So he guided me. He enabled me to begin, because without him, I don't think I'd have had the courage to start, because it is tough and it is intimidating, especially in a male-dominated club. So I needed that guidance. But then once I began, so that was my first stepping out of my comfort zone, that beginning kickboxing. It took me 4 years to do it. From 15, deciding I liked the idea from watching a class while my cousins did karate, to 19, finally stepping foot in the gym. And it wasn't easy. He held my hand to the gym and then he had to let go. Then I had to do it. Then I had to be there and not be able to do a press up and persevere, because that's the next step if you want to achieve something, you do have to persevere with it. But I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I managed to step out of my comfort zone on that occasion, start at the gym when I was 19 with his guidance, because that led on to a continual, where are we now, 8.5 years later, I'm still doing it. I'm still stepping outside of my comfort zone to be here today, precisely. And to again, it goes back to that beliefs that we have. So obviously I wasn't a kickboxer until I started. But then I got told I wasn't a fighter until I started fighting. And more so from myself. My coaches have always said that I can fight if I want to. But even so, I do remember them saying, you're not a natural fighter. And it probably is correct. I'm not a natural fighter, but I'm quite stubborn. So I wasn't prepared to take that, you're not a natural fighter. I took that and I went, no, I really want to win, because I kept losing, and it is disheartening losing, but that's life. You don't win everything, and it's not a loss. If you can take your loss and you can learn from it, you can come back stronger. So I struggled for the first lots of fights. I think I lost all of my light con, which was about 5. I lost my first full con, then I went on to win. Then I had another couple of really tough losses. I had really good opponents. But luckily, by this time, I'd moved clubs. I had a really great team of coaches. One of them is a teacher. He's one of my life's inspirations. And I remember him turning around to me, and he said it as well, actually, but with a more positive take. He said, you're not a natural fighter, but you are a natural coach. You can use this and you can go on. If you carry on now and you don't give up, you can use your own experiences as a reflection of what you can overcome. And this will be part of your story. So thank you to Daniel Barfoot, who said that to me. And that is exactly where I am now, using it as part of my story. I wasn't a natural fighter. And even the person who inspires me the most confirmed that. But he also took me aside and explained that just because I'm not a natural at it, I can overcome the difficulties. And that's what I did. That was about the point where I was just at the end of I keep losing, then I started winning, then I became a champion. So it was that realizing that I need to do this, I need to persevere with this to overcome these struggles so that I can then help others, because we all have struggles in our life. We won't all be stepping in a kickboxing ring and physically losing, but something will happen to us that we will have to then go back, work out why we lost and how we can move on from it. And so for me, that was actually fighting. For you, that won't be fighting. But as a coach, which is where I am a coach, I'm a kickboxing coach, but I want to continue to coach, including mindset, including life. I'll move on. And I know that anybody that I coach, I will firsthand understand those struggles, because they will be coming to me at a point where they're losing, where they have something that they need to overcome. I've been there. I've been at the end of a lot of losses, and I've had coaches too who've helped me go, okay, yeah, I've got to go back. I've got to work hard again. I've got to step back in that ring again. So I'm really glad that I've got the losses to learn from, because I think people assume that those who are successful have some secret to success. Oh, it's okay for you. You're a champion. It's like, yeah, but I wasn't always a champion. I'm only just a champion. Like at the end of 8.5 hard years, at the end of my life that got me to kickboxing. I'm not just a champion. I have no unique ability. I'm not a natural fighter. These are all true. The thing that I have different to those that aren't is I carried on going. I carried on stepping out of my comfort zone. So I'm going to pass you over to Brooke now. I'm not sure exactly how long that was, but I don't want to add anything more to it. So I'll mute myself.
So guys, like I said, it's going to be a bit interactive today. So I'd love you to put in the chat out of 1 to score of 1 to 10, 1 being absolutely petrified and 10 being it's a breeze, about stepping out of your comfort zone and doing something that scares you. So if you want to just put that amount in the chat, that'd be great, because then we're going to gauge it at the end of how you feel about stepping out of your comfort zone after we've chatted to you and give you some actionable things to do. I'll just give you a minute to do that. 6, that's great. 4, brilliant. And Becky? You just want to pop it in the chat. Just put a number between 1 and 10. Right, while Becky's doing that, I'm just going to chat a bit. So as Jess said, I'm the mindset coach. I'm the breakthrough specialist. I help people break through barriers, whether it's money mindset, whether it's an issue of a trauma from a childhood. And when you hear my story in a moment, you'll understand why I've come from there and what I did. But first of all, I just want you to imagine the date is October the 17th, 2006. I'm stood on stage in front of 400 people. Can you imagine that, with that actual feeling of what that feels like to be stood in front of 400 people, with everybody looking at you, wanting to hear what you've got to say? And I'm stood there petrified. I've got my notes and I'm shaking like this, thinking, what am I doing here? Who wants to listen to me? Now, I'm going to go back a bit so you can understand why I've stood there and why I'm absolutely petrified. I grew up in a very unconventional family. My mother was very, very abusive. She told me every day she wished I was dead, that she hated me, she wished I was never born, that I was useless, I would never ever amount to anything. Mentally and physically, day in and day out, she abused me all of my life. And when I was 7 years old, I decided that I wanted to be a mum. That's all I wanted to do, because I knew how to be a great mum, because my mum was rubbish at it, and I knew if I did the opposite of what she did, I would be an amazing mum. So when I left school, I went and did a hairdressing apprenticeship so I could be a mobile hairdresser, because when I had children, I wanted to stay at home and work around my children, because I wanted to bring up my children. So I did all sorts of bits and pieces of jobs until they got into their teenage years. And then I went and got a job and started my career, and I got a job in sales. And I did really, really well. And I was quite shocked, because to me, I was just a mum. But to everybody else in that company, they saw me as a high flyer. And they actually asked me to stand on stage and explain how I'd achieved my last sales targets. So there I'm stood on stage thinking, I'm not worthy of this. Nobody cares what I've got to say. I'm worthless. I'm useless. I'm absolutely petrified. I'm 39 years old, and all I feel like is that little 6-year-old child that was beaten and told how useless they were. So my heart is absolutely pounding. If you can imagine, my palms are really sweaty and I'm so petrified. I've actually got my story wrote out on this piece of paper and I'm shaking and it's vibrating and everybody can see it shaking. I'm thinking, what am I doing? These people think I'm something I'm not. Imposter syndrome hit so badly. My lips and mouth was dry. I thought, I'm not going to be able to speak. But then it hit me, boom. You're not worthless. You're not useless. That was your old stories that your mum told you. That was her stories, not yours. You've achieved these things. You've got all these people looking at you, wanting to be inspired by you, wanting to know how you do it. You can get through this and you can do it. And I did get through it, and I just about got through it. I stood there and read every single word on that piece of paper that was shaking. And I then put my piece of paper down and I looked up for the first time and I had no eye contact with anybody because I was too petrified. I was bright red and they all stood up and gave me a standing ovation. And I was so overwhelmed, I burst into tears. And everybody after said, I can't believe that you've gone through all of that and you've achieved everything that you've achieved. And it was absolutely amazing. And afterwards I realized that it doesn't matter whatever you want to step out of, you're always going to have some kind of thing inside of you thinking, oh my goodness, what's happened? Now, fast forward 14 years, I've done a lot of mindset work. I'm a coach. I do mindset work all the time. And I went on stage again in January and I stood at the back of the hall and I've got people there, hundreds of people wanted to hear my story. And I've stood there thinking, okay, I've got this now. I'm calm. I've got no notes. I'm going to just go up there and talk. I'm going to have eye contact with everybody. And then I had this little voice in my head going, what do you think you're doing? Now, if that had been 14 years before, I'd have probably cried and said, I don't know, and ran into the toilets. But in January, I said, I'm going to go on stage. I'm going to inspire these people. And I'm going to let these people know if I can get through what I got through, they can too. And I went up on a stage. I burst onto that stage full of energy. I spoke to everybody. I looked people in the eyes. I made the eye contact, even though my nerves were kicking in, because with your body, when you're nervous and you're scared, it's the same kind of reaction. The excitement and scared is the same kind of reaction. So I actually stood on stage and told the people that your body actually has this same reaction if you're excited to what you are if you're scared. So I sat there and said, I'm absolutely very, very excited, letting them know that I was actually scared, because it's still stepping out of your comfort zone. It's still doing something different. And like Jess said today, we're stepping out of our comfort zone. I've done thousands of webinars, but I've never done one with Jess. So this is a whole new game for me as well. So stepping out of your comfort zone is something that is an ongoing process. And every time you step out into something new, your mind automatically thinks, oh, hang on a minute. Either we haven't done this before, this is new, we don't like this, because our mind likes to protect us and keep us safe, or it remembers something back to a time when you've done it before and it didn't go so well. And like, no, remember what happened last time? We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. So it's stepping out of your comfort zone like that. It really does actually, well, they say that the magic happens outside of your comfort zone. Well, I actually call it your growth zone, because every time you step into your growth zone, you do grow a bit more and you learn more about yourself and you learn more about people in your life as well. So that's how I stepped out of my comfort zone. I was a very scared person who had no self-worth, no self-esteem, who stood up in front of over 400 people and told them how I achieved what I achieved, and was absolutely petrified. But I got myself through it and came out the other end. And guess what? I didn't die. So that's my bit of story about how we stepped out of my comfort zone. So I'm now going to hand you back to Jess.
I just want to say that I think Brooke's amazing, because the things that she went through growing up and to get to where she is now, I know a lot of people that wouldn't have managed to do that and wouldn't have been able to overcome everything that they were told from such an early age by their mother every day. So to be able to overcome that and be here now helping others I mean, she's a breakthrough specialist, so that involves stepping out of your comfort zone amongst everything else that she helps them with. So if she was on a physical stage now, she'd deserve another standing ovation round of applause. But
thank you. It's just a short version, because obviously if I went into detail, it would probably take the whole hour of the webinar. So that's a very short version of my story.
But she has got an amazing story, and it is amazing that she is here today now helping other people with their own. So so now we're going to get you involved. I think we're going to ask you to think of something that you want to achieve, something that is really big and really scary, and perhaps your own head. Do you have a pen and paper, a piece of pen and paper? A piece of paper and a pen. A piece of pen won't write. To write down something, to identify something. Because I actually did this at the beginning of when I met Rochelle. I wrote down my intention. So if you write down your intention, don't think about how you're going to do it yet. Don't think about it as a goal. Just think about something that you would love to achieve, and think about why. Don't think about the what necessarily. Don't think about the how. Don't think about whether it's possible or if you're going to do it or any of these questions, because the second you think, I want to be a millionaire or whatever it is, the second you think that, your head starts going, oh, no, don't be silly. You've only got £5 in your bank. Oh, don't be silly. You only earn £10 an hour. How are you going to get £1 million? Just if that's what you want, or if you want a holiday in Barbados, or you want to own a farm, or whatever it is. So I'm going to let you think about that. And the bigger you go, the better, because the more outrageous it is, the more authentic it is. Wherever it comes from within you, it's something that you desire. So, and without acknowledging that, because we're too quick to just shut these ideas down. We're too quick to stay being good at maths. We're too quick to stay on our path, defined as what we are now. That doesn't have to be where we're going. And it's important to write it down. Otherwise, it goes in our head and straight back out, and we go back to our daily life. So now you've written it down, you'll have something to reflect back to whenever you're struggling. And I'm just going to help you identify how we're going to, well, between me and Brooke, we're going to help you identify how you can actually achieve that. Because although it might not seem possible now, and hopefully you have written down something big and scary that doesn't seem possible now, it is possible. As long as you get the tools right, as long as you learn to overcome the barriers that your brain is telling you, but they're not true. They're just a story to protect you. I'm going to take a step back now, back to what the comfort zone actually is. So in terms of the brain trying to protect you, it wants to keep you in your comfort zone, because you all have one. If you think now about where you feel comfortable, where you don't have that anything running around your head, all the anxieties, like Brooke said, anxiety and excitement are the same physiological reaction. It's a spike of adrenaline, it's a spike of endorphins, everything goes, well, hey, in our brain, and it is tiring. It is a use of our energy. It is one of our resources, and we want to avoid it to keep ourselves safe for survival. But if we don't allow ourselves to come out of it, we will never grow. So that growth zone, and we will never experience the high of achieving, because that's what the body wants to. So we need to learn how to manage it. We need to learn that, yes, we can have a comfort zone, and we must take time in our comfort zone, doing whatever it is that we do, whether it's reading a book on the beach or drinking a tea under a blanket, or whatever it is. It's important to have that, but also be able to step out of it, and not just be scared of stepping out of it. Because to achieve what you want to achieve, you do need to step out of your comfort zone. You do need to take action. But on the other side, it is worth it. It's only that step, the before, we can build it up in our brains to be massive, and that can be really damaging. That is what we need to learn how to overcome. We need to learn how to overcome this fear here and reframe that to excitement into a positive feeling and a positive use of that energy. The step, the bit where you're walking into the ring, where you're walking on stage, that is a stomach does a somersault and, oh my God, here I go. Then afterwards, it's Fantastic. I've got a quote here that I'm just going to read out. I haven't memorized it, so I am going to read it. It's by Kurt Vonnegut, and he's an American writer. And the quote is, "We have to be continually jumping off cliffs and developing our wings on the way down." So I want you to think about that for a second. In fact, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to picture a cliff, a big cliff with the waves crashing at the bottom of that cliff. And you're standing on the edge. And I want you to feel that now. I want you to feel what that feels like, looking down, looking below, looking at the rocks, looking at the sea below you. And you know that you need to step off that cliff, but you don't want to. Something's holding you back. You're safe at the moment. You're on solid ground, looking down, looking at the vast expanse around you. There's so much out there where you can go. It's all within your potential reach, and you have to step. So now step and fall and allow your wings to grow. Picture those wings. They will be unique to you. What do they look like? And what does it feel like? You're flying over the sea. You're flying off into the horizon. Your wings are spread. And that feeling of freedom, that feeling of letting go. You've left the ground, you've jumped off the cliff, and you're flying. You're flying towards wherever you want to go. Anywhere in the world. You will all have a unique picture right now in your mind. Keep picturing it, keep your eyes closed, but really feel it. Really feel that weightless feeling of flight. Wherever you are, at whatever speed you're going. Again, are you floating? You can float, you can hover, or are you zooming off around the world super quick? Right, I want you to come back into the room now and open your eyes. But just think about that stepping off a cliff to grow your wings and fly. We all want to experience that feeling. We all can experience that feeling. And had I decided to describe that differently, I could have gone, imagine falling off the cliff, no wings came and you fell into the rocks and oh dear. And that wouldn't be a very funny story, a very enjoyable experience. And then you'd never step off the cliff. And that's what the voice inside our head does to us. It goes, don't step off the cliff. Don't step off the cliff. There's rocks down there. There's sea down there. It's a horrible grey day and there's a thunderstorm and this is a disaster. Because it wants us to stay safe. It wants our feet to stay on the cliff. Because we don't know that the wings are going to grow. We don't know that we're going to succeed, but we can picture that success. That is a visualization, and we all have the ability to do it. It's something that we often think we can't do, but we all visualize things on a daily basis, and it doesn't have to become a meditative practice. But if you want to achieve something, start taking action to actually visualize the success and see it in your mind. So going back to the fighting and the winning a title belt, actually seeing myself as a champion, my hand being raised, feeling what it feels like to be in the ring when you've just won, right down to the feelings of, yes, I'll be tired and my body will ache, but that feeling of, oh my God, this is amazing, I just did it. 8 weeks of hard work have all just paid off because I've won. Knowing that you can go there anytime in your mind, because you can take yourself away just for 1 minute and close your eyes, and whatever you have written down, now you can visualize that whenever you need to, whenever you're struggling, whenever that voice inside your head is telling you that you're going to crash to the bottom of the cliff on the rocks. Don't allow that voice to keep telling you that. Go back to the picture that you can create of flying through the sky with your wings created. Picture that flying towards your goal. Whatever your goal might be, you have the ability to jump off the cliffs and fly there, wherever it is. That is within your reach. And it's quick. If you fly, you can go as quick as you like. It doesn't have to be quick. You don't, again, your time frame that you want to achieve your goal comes down to you, and because there will be a pressure to work towards it to achieve it, because you do have to put the work in to get there. But you can float there, and it might take a bit longer, but that's okay. Once you have a plan in place, it's okay to go at the pace that suits you. It's okay to slow down, or it's okay to put all your energy into it because you have this excitement. And it is excitement. It's not anxiety. It is within your reach if your head tells you so. And now you have the tools to write, like once you've written it down, and if you reflect, so check back on it. Whenever you're struggling, check back on what you really truly want to desire, and really focus on the why, and focus on the how too, by the visualizing it. That's the how. The how is what you see when you think of that picture. That is how you're going to get there. If you play it through in your mind, the best case scenario of how you're going to get to that goal, that you can make that happen. You can take the action. Your head will try to hold you back, but just don't allow it. So then I'm going to move on from that into the next tool that has helped me personally, being positive affirmations. So you will have a negative voice. Again, the mind is trying to keep you in your comfort zone. It's trying to keep you safe. It's trying to keep your feet on the floor. It's stopping you from flying because it's scared. It's human instinct, fight or flight. We don't want to fight. We just want to stay safe, stay where we are. We know that we're earning enough income to buy our food, and we know that we're not going to die if we stay the way we are. So why risk falling to the rocks? But if you don't, you'll never succeed where you really want to go. So by taking that negative voice, whatever it's saying, it might be saying, you can't do that, you're not enough, you're not intelligent enough, you're not educated enough, you don't have enough money to invest in it, you don't know the right people, you don't live in the right part of the world. There's an infinite amount. I'm not going to go through anymore. But whatever it is now, when you think of it now, actually I'm going to get you to think about it right now, what you want to achieve, and there will be a thought that comes into your head. A reason why you can't achieve it. Whatever that thought is, right now, think of it. One reason that will prevent you from doing it. Now switch it to a positive. So, and then write that down. So for me, becoming a champion, it was, I'm not fit enough. Every time I fought, when I lost, every time I was training, I would be going, I'm not fit enough, I'm not fit enough. Physically, I was. But mentally, my head was telling me that I'm not fit enough. So I struggled. I was fighting my own head. I wasn't fighting an opponent. Physically, I could beat an opponent. All of my fights have been close, even the losses. But the early ones, the ones which I lost, I remember clearly going back to my coach and saying, I'm not fit enough. And if my head is telling me that, my body will reflect that, because that is what my body is listening to. Your body is listening to your brain. So your brain now needs to learn to only say the positive. And when it struggles, when you're struggling physically, that is when it will start screaming the negative at you. You need to take control of that, and you need to turn it round into the positive. Hence, I named my business I Am Fighting Fit, because it's got such a personal meaning to me, in that I only started to win once I believed that truly I was fighting fit. I still get days where I go, oh, well, you're not really a fighter, are you? You know you're not a natural fighter. You know that you just work hard and you just get lucky or whatever. But it's no, I am fighting fit. I have to come back to that and remember, yes, I am enough. I am a fighter. I am fit enough. And that's why you have to have that. Yours will be unique to you, and you have now written it down. And so now you have what you want to work towards, and you have the affirmation, because you will struggle. It's not going to be win after win after win, hopefully, because then you won't learn anything. And then when you do lose, it will hit you even harder. Life is a up and down roller coaster. It's not a great straight line up to success. So when you start to go down, remember the positive affirmation, that will pick you back up. So you don't just keep crashing down. Because if you allow it to spiral into negativity off of each loss, you'll stay down there. You'll hit those rocks and you'll go, oh, I shouldn't have jumped off the cliff. So when you jump off the cliff, you have to take control of your action. Use the positive affirmation, reframe those negative thoughts, which are there to try and keep you safe, but they're wrong. They're holding you back. You don't have to be safe to succeed. You just have to have that desire, that goal, that why, and then you have to go and take action. So I'm going to pass you over to Brooke now, and she can give you more information on what taking action will look like.
Thank you, Jess. Yeah, you need to put a date on when you want to achieve this by. And this reason we do this is to get your brain to think and your mind to think, okay, this is when we need to achieve it by. Because if you leave it open-ended, our subconscious mind is a bit like a 5-year-old. It will just kind of wander and not worry. And like Jessica said, when you say I am, it makes your subconscious mind kind of sit up a bit like a meerkat. It's like, oh, hang on a minute, she's serious here. But if you actually say something like, oh, I'm going to try and earn, we'll go for earning, for example, I'm going to try and earn 50,000 by the end of this year. Your subconscious mind is going to say, oh, well, that's kind of, it's a bit like a sloth. Oh no, she's not really serious. And it's a bit like if you've got a pen, if I try and drop this pen, I won't do it. Because when you try, it means that you're not going to do it. If you say, I am going to drop this pen, I drop it. So it's getting your subconscious mind to actually sort of sit up and think. Now, every morning I do a mantra or an affirmation. I say, I'm amazing. It's an amazing day and something amazing is going to happen. And the reason I do this is actually scientific. It actually kicks off what's called your reticular activating system in your mind. And you've all done it in the past. So if you decided that you wanted to, say, buy a blue Ford Fiesta, suddenly you see loads of blue Ford Fiestas everywhere. And it's not that the Ford company said, oh, Brooke wants to buy a Ford Fiesta, so let's put tons of them on the road just to keep reminding her about them. What you've actually done is you've kind of woken up your reticular activating system, which is your system to like be alert to things that are around you. And that will help you open doors to actually achieve the thing that you want to achieve. So if you're constantly thinking about it and saying, I am whatever it is, I am, the owner of £50,000, or I am the owner of a blue Ford Fiesta, whatever it is. And like Jessica says, visualize it. Imagine if it is a car, what it feels like to be sat in it, what it smells like. Is it a brand new car? Has that got that brand new car smell? Who's sat beside you? What have you got in the car? What colour is your car? Really get into that, really bringing it to life. What does it smell like in there? Who are you going to visit? Where are you going to go in this car? What journeys are you going to go on? What adventures are you going to go on? And it's taking the action in your mind, because when you take that action in your mind and you visualize this, it actually plays out in real life, and you'll be amazed the different doors that open. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, I've just thought about this, and somebody just come up to me and said X, Y, and Z and helped me out with the situation. So, for example, if it was that you wanted to buy a car and at the moment you've got zero in your bank and think, how am I going to buy a car in 6 months' time? Something will happen. And because you're more aware of it now, it will actually be heightened by your mind, and you will actually see it. Whereas before you wouldn't have seen it, but now you've seen it. And it may be that somebody comes up to you and says, oh, I know somebody's got a really good deal on blue Ford Fiestas at the moment. Are you interested in having a look? Whereas they wouldn't have maybe mentioned it before. So it's thinking about those sorts of things and how they work with yourself. So like with me, when I wake up every morning and say, I am amazing, it's an amazing day, and something amazing is going to happen, my mind is always looking for amazing things to happen, whether it's small things or huge things, but every day is looking for amazing things to happen. It's not looking on the negative side of things, it's looking on the positive, amazing things that will happen. And every day something amazing in my life will happen. Maybe it's something small, and I'm always looking for things. Maybe it's just like one of my grandchildren FaceTimes me and says, hi grandma, I love you, which to me is an amazing thing to happen. And I feed on that and think, okay, that's an amazing thing that happened. What else is amazing going to happen? And it keeps going. So it's taking that action and thinking, right, what step can I take? So when you start thinking about what it is you want, and then you take a step, even if you're not sure which step to take. I mean, when I first decided that I wanted to start speaking on stage, I had no idea of how that was going to come about. And then I just thought about, I want to really speak on stage. I want to speak on stage. And then it turned out doing the job I was doing, taking steps in my job, ended up with me speaking up on stage. Well, I would have never, ever have guessed in my life that was a route that would have got me on the stage for the very first time. Working in a sales job to going on stage. You know, if you say that to anybody, oh yeah, if you're a salesman, you'll end up talking on stage. Most people say, nah, not a chance. You know, that's not what salespeople do. They don't talk on stage. So it's just taking that first step, wherever you think it, listening to your gut intuition as well. I mean, I'm very, very big on listening to my intuition. Whatever pops into your head, even though it seems a bit strange, try it, do it, because you don't know where it will end up being. I mean, I often have people's names pop in my head, and then I'll message them and they'll say, oh, I was just thinking about you. I was going to message you, you know, and I'm sure you've all had that happen. And it's the same with whatever you want to actually achieve, whatever that big, huge goal is. Now, if you'd have said to me when I was 10 years old that I would be speaking on stage in front of hundreds of people, I would have said never, not ever in your life, ever. But as my life changed and I grew and things happened, that's where I ended up. And I absolutely love it because of the impact that it helps other people. And I'm huge about the ripple effect. And that's what my goal is. My goal is to impact people, to have that huge ripple effect of people thinking, if Brooke can do it, I can do it, because I'm nobody special. You know, I've not, you know, had any sort of special, you know, I'm no prince or princess, you know, like got loads of money and got influence where people can put me on stage because I could pay them to put me on stage. But I've done what I wanted to do, and I've achieved what I want to achieve because I had a goal. I knew I'd have to step out of my comfort zone, and I took action. I took that first step, wherever that step may be. I took it. Sometimes it was a wrong step and I didn't go the right way. So then I had to come back and regroup and think, okay, well, that didn't work out. That's fine. But as Jess said, what could I learn from that? And I love making mistakes. I love failing, because there is where I learn the most. You know, when I got on stage the first time and I had my notes in front of me and I was absolutely shaking holding these notes in front of me, that was a learning curve for me, because I never looked at the audience. I didn't engage with them. And I was petrified that I'd lose my place, because if I lost my place in my notes, because I was so nervous, I'd have completely clammed up. So now I know that as I progress, I think, okay, well, that's what I need to work on. I need to be able to work on talking without notes. Now I do webinars for a whole hour long with absolutely no notes. And I know what's going to come out will come out fine. And if it doesn't come out fine, I'll think, okay, well, don't do that one next time. That's a good learning curve. Do it this way next time. So it's taking that first step. And like Jess said, it's going to be scary because you're going to have those stories. And I'm a big believing about people's stories. And this is what I work on a lot with my clients. When something comes up in your head and you're just about to step out into your comfort zone, into your growth zone, whatever comes into your head, ask yourself, is that my voice? Because 9 times out of 10, it's going to be somebody else's voice, an adult from when you was a child. And is that story true? Now, if I'd have carried on believing the stories about me that were imprinted in my head as a child, I'm worthless, I should be dead, I shouldn't have been born, I was hated, nobody cared about me, nobody would listen to me, I'm not important. You know, if I'd have listened to those stories and let them run my life, I wouldn't be here today. So I know their stories from other people. So I've got rid of those stories and I've put my own new stories in. I know I'm amazing. I know what I've got to say people want to listen to. I know I can make an impact. And that has took me years to say that. You know, I've done lots of work where I've looked in the mirror and said, oh, you're beautiful, Brooke. And then I've heard this voice say, no, you're not, you're ugly. Because my mum always used to say as well that I'm ugly, that nobody would ever want to marry me, nobody would ever care about me, and if I had children, they would hate me. So it was all those sorts of things I heard day in, day out. And yeah, I believed them. When I was a child, I was so scared to say anything to anybody because I thought they would just laugh at me. I was bullied at school because I was weird. So it was a real knock-on effect. So it took me a long time to get to where I am now. And I'm still a work in progress. Like I said, today, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone again because me and Jess have never done a webinar together. So it's another new thing, but it's taking that step. The thing is, yeah, I see somebody, Rochelle said about the law of attraction. Yes, law of attraction. Yeah, I really do believe in it, but it's the action bit of the attraction. That's the important bit. I don't believe that you can say, right, I'd love a red Ferrari and sit on your sofa and just imagine a red Ferrari turning up on your driveway, because it won't happen. You have to actually take some sort of action towards it, even if it is, you know, find a rich person and woo them so they buy you a red Ferrari. You still have to take that action. It's not just a matter of just sitting on your sofa and just hoping it would appear. So I hope that's inspired you to sort of think about, even though you are scared, it's okay. Those feelings are going to come up because your unconscious mind, like we've said, wants to protect you. That's their primary thing, is to protect you and keep you safe. So the minute you step out and do something different, it's going to go, whoa, wait a minute, what are you doing? Why are we doing this? This isn't what we normally do. This isn't what we normally do on a Monday morning. What are we doing? Pack it in. Let's go back to what we normally do on a Monday morning. Let's go back to where it's safe. You know, let's go out for a walk, Brooke. Let's go out for a run. Let's do a kickboxing workout. Something that you're familiar with, that we're safe with. We can do that. But no, I knew that my unconscious mind is just trying to protect me and wanted me to like stay in my comfort zone. Whereas I love to get out of my comfort zone into my growth zone. Hence why I said, nope, we're doing a webinar. Let's do it together and let's have some great fun. So I hope that's inspired you to take some action and know that whatever it is that you've got on your notepad today, that you can take the action and you can achieve it. Because if I can go from a shy little girl who was beaten up most days, never thought she'd survive her childhood, being verbally, mentally, emotionally abused every day, to be able to stand on stage in front of people and talk to them and tell my story, you can achieve whatever you've got written on your notepad that you wrote down today. So I'll hand you back to Jess now to carry on the next bit.
I just typed a quick response to Rochelle while you were speaking.